It's time for the headlines with Nick Kiprios, Elliot Friedman, and Chris Johnson, senior writer for Sportsnet.ca. Chris, when the CBA was done in 2013, we all know now the PA didn't insist on Olympic participation, but both they and the NHL put in a section for the first time on international growth of the game. It hasn't really happened, so where are we at?
Well, there's, a number of meetings happening now, Ron, and, some interesting ideas being thrown out in these meetings, including the possibility of scrapping the All-Star game for having some sort of event overseas, the feeling being perhaps that's a way to make a real impact over in Europe. And the sense I get out of these meetings is that for the first time, there's a real push here to try to create a bigger vision, to do something all at the same time rather than one event here, one event there in China and Sweden. And in this case, the NHL has actually followed up on this by recently hiring a fellow, Jaka Lednick, a European-born, Harvard-trained businessman, to oversee their European growth strategy. So there's a lot of different balls in play, and more meetings are expected soon.
Nick, by the way, talked about China last week. Ryan, I understand that the Edmonton Oilers have let it be known that they would like to go to China next year, assuming the NHL goes back.
Andreas Athanasio, the waiting game's been on in Detroit. What are you hearing?
It is. Darren Ferris, the agent for Andreas, met with Ken Holland, general manager of Detroit, in Arizona when they played Thursday. There's no real indication, guys, that Detroit's ready to come off their 2-year offer at $1.9 million per for Andreas. They've also made it very clear that there's no appetite to trade him at this point. They like him. They see him in their plans. They want to move forward. Now, the feeling is now they're going to talk again early next week, and there should be a resolution one way or the other. Either he ends up signing with Detroit or he starts playing some meaningful games overseas, but that should come early next week.
Couple of names for you, Elliot: Jarome Iginla and Zdeno Chara.
Well, first of all, in Iginla, we know Jaromir Jagr's playing. We know that Shane Doan's retired. We've been waiting on Iginla and whether or not he will play. Team Canada has its first international tournament next month. It's called the Karjala Cup. It's in Finland as a pre-Olympic preparation. I understand that an invitation will be extended to Jarome Iginla if he wants to play for Team Canada there, and we can see where it goes if he does play at that event. Second one, Zdeno Chara. Don Sweeney said in September that his plan was to re-sign Chara. There have been some rumblings that some teams have asked the Bruins about him. Would they consider moving him this year? Ron Sweeney said again today he does not plan on moving him, and he does plan on re-signing him.
Chris was just telling us off the air that Derek England's speech in the touching ceremony in Vegas, the memorial service, really, was 58 seconds on the nose. So Vegas, the emotion around this week, what happened, of course, and how that was handled by the Golden Knights is truly impressive. And the only bad news in the Golden Knights week is that Marc-Andre Fleury may be in some trouble after last night.
Yeah, some uncertainty whether Marc-Andre Fleury will be healthy enough to start Sunday's game against the Boston Bruins. He got hit on this play last night by Anthony Mantha's knee there. Remember that Marc-Andre Fleury is a player who has a past with concussions. He had a couple 2 years ago in Pittsburgh. He missed today's practice with what the team called a maintenance day, Ron. But there's some uncertainty about whether he'll be fit enough to go. And, look, he stayed in the game. He saw the trainers, but he allowed 5 goals on 17 shots after taking that hit on the rush there. And, look, he's been a huge part of their success so far. And if he can't go, it'll be Malcolm Subban playing against the Boston Bruins, his former team.
And that game's on Rogers Hometown Hockey tomorrow evening at 6:30 ET. More with Tara Sloan on that in just a moment. So the question by the Montreal media, who was it? Eric asked
Eric Engels, yes.
He did ask this question. So it was Mike Babcock this morning, and obviously the conversation around Shea Weber getting off to a slow start. Here's what Toronto's Mike Babcock said.
Well, I could just tell you this. If you guys don't want him, we'll take him. How's that? Anything else? See you guys. Have a good day.
Nick.
Now, listen, you could sit there and say Mike's got a great sense of humor, but there are a couple of organizations that have reached out to me and asked me, was that just, did he just tamper? Is that tampering? And listen, we get it, tongue in cheek, but let me ask you something, Elliot. If you're Marc Bergevin, do you like the quote?
I don't have a problem with that.
No, I didn't ask you. Would Mike?
No,
would Bergevin have a issue with it?
First of all, Bergevin's got a sense of humor.
And he probably wants Shea in Toronto. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Mark. I'm kidding.
First of all, he's got a sense of humor, and two, we want people to joke with media. To be honest with media, if we're going to pick apart that, you're not going to say anything. That's a joke.
I think it's dicey for the National Hockey League.
Let's have some fun, gentlemen.
Yes.
It's just a game. He's talking to reporters, Nick.
Like
it's
I said,
fine.
ask the Montreal organization how much fun they've had in the last 2 weeks.
That's good.